Oh, I just woke up from a nap. Hello. Today is 5:21. It's 6:28. I woke up to somebody calling and blasting my phone like every second. And I was sent a threatening text message and a threatening voice message that somebody is taking me to court. And that's okay. I will willingly go to court. I'm not going to mention who it is, but I'm making a video as evidence that I am in severe emotional distress, which means I'm not crying or breaking down, but I'm severely anxious. Anyways, this entity is clearly abusing their power as basically as a business person. And because they deem someone like me an artist, an idiot, they think that they can threaten me and I won't do anything. So anyways, I am going to go type and do something. I have to fill up some paperwork because there's a long process to doing stuff like this. But because I'm an advocate and I educate you, if you're ever threatened by a company, you have legal rights to counter sue. So you go to eeoc.gov, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission or whatever. I have it right here. And you find what you want to do. So you can go to court, which is a big process. It's such a pain in the butt. Or you can find a mediator and you tell them what's going on, pretty much. And if that doesn't work, you can file a complaint with the Better Business Bureau. You can also go to Career Source of Miami-Dade and talk to them and see what they say, because they are in charge of making sure people aren't abusing their powers as employers. And now this person who is threatening me does not understand who I am. They're lazy, so that works for me. They think that I'm just an artist. They haven't looked at my educational background or my work history. I've worked for the government. I've worked for several programs, so I'm not some idiot. And this is all because I left a review stating that they were unprofessional, which I have every right to do. So anyways, that's bull. But I have to do this stuff. So I have to work because I am a business person. So that's just the type of people that we have in this country who think that because they make lots of money, thousands, millions, and billions, that they can do this type of stuff. I don't know. Okay, I'm doing some paperwork I've never done before. This has nothing to do with what I just talked about. This has to do with my a research study that I'm participating in, and that takes precedence over this crazy things that happen in my life. You know, all of the time. Like it's just so funny. I don't know if this is correct. I don't know. If it's wrong, they can tell me that I can fix it. Because, you know, it's just everyone's website is so different and it just gets on my nerves. Okay, I have to look up the email. Sometimes I just wonder what people come up with their websites that have to do with important information. Like it's not been very intuitive. And this happens all the time. When I was working with Career Source, I had several people who were working. They were like, they're not paying me my wages. They're saying all this stuff, and it happens if they think that you don't know the laws. They take advantage of it. I don't know what you're talking about. What? Oh my God, this is gonna. All right, I'm gonna have to call, which is gonna be so frustrating. Please, so that. Again, I have not. Wow. Okay. I don't understand this. Whoever made this website is kooky. Okay, so this is something that I'm gonna have to call. Because it doesn't make sense. So I'll do that off camera because it's sensitive information. But yeah, so this is what being an advocate is about educating other people, and as usual, dealing with people in high standing who think that they can get away with such behavior. And it's really quite sad because I don't want to go waste my time in court, stand there and listen to them talk, blah, 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 blah. I have things to do. So this is really just the waste of both our times, like, honestly. So right now I'm looking through my phone, and I never delete conversations that I find interesting. And I'm going to compile them and print them out. And I also don't delete business emails. So let's see what we have here. I'm not going to read any of them because, that's between us. Yes, I have one email and it's really silly. So let's see. I am going to, yeah. That is one. Ooh, I'm going to delete this one because this person doesn't have that number anymore. I'm going to add this person onto my account, my contacts, because I know who this is. Well, I don't know their name, but they're my neighbor. Their dog ended up in their house, so it's always good to know your neighbors. And then there's just spam stuff, like constantly spam people trying to get me to buy their products. Like it's really ridiculous. Yes. So I don't know if everyone knows this, but on Android you can zoom in and zoom out of text messages. And that's like for most standard tech. I'm trying to do a picture. There we go. So yeah, and now I have to look through emails. First, before I do that, I need to write down this number. So when you're dealing with a business, if you're a business, for example, you own a business, you don't text somebody, you don't message somebody important information, you send an email because that is a professional way of doing it. And I don't know what they think. Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm getting some pre-ordered stuff from one of my favorite bands. Mm. Hmm. And another thing that people assume, I'm actually a public figure. Before Corona happened, before everything, happened, I was actually supposed to be on an international Hispanic podcast, talking about my nonprofit organization. And a lot of people in the mental health community know my name. So I'm not just somebody in the shadows, like I'm actually out there. But, ignorance is bliss. So let them assume whatever they need to assume. All right, I'm missing some emails. That's interesting. That means they were emailing me in a different name. And what was I saying? Let me see. This is. And I just read something. I ordered like 5,000 condoms for my nonprofit organization and they never came. The heck? If you have a nonprofit and you can get condoms for free for sex education. And I was going to give them to Pride people for the Pride parade. Usually I highlight things when they're important, and I've highlighted so many. um, Yeah, that's weird. The email's gone, and that is interesting. Let me see something. She probably emailed me under her professional title, as usual. No matter. I just wanted to get the paperwork that I signed, and that is probably on my computer, my old computer, because I keep all those documents. It doesn't be more of a bit of a hassle for me. But I'm gonna make a note. Today is 5/21, 2020. And I suspect somebody that I talked to is also involved. Another employee is involved in this business, somebody who's a sneaky snake who was feeling threatened by me. So it all makes sense. But I'm not worried about it. I'm just annoyed because that means I have to wake up early, go all the way downtown, sit in court, which is annoying as hell, listen to people talk, and threaten me, and then present evidence against them. You know, so ridiculous. And let me look up something else. I woke up really late, so all the places that I know are closed at this time, so I can't call them. I know several people that I can call. So, I'm going to call them tomorrow. Like I don't have anything to do. Whatever. And for now, since we're on live, we can continue studying because I want to get my mind off of this caca. So let me get some water and get my book and my notes, and we'll continue game design. I should probably get a snack too. Heidi. Oh. This is protein. Sometimes when I don't want to eat like actual food, I just take a protein shake. It just makes it easier for me. Don't start. No, go back to sleep. Heidi. All the time. Why do you do this to me? Every time I sit down and I have to sit down for hours, you have to harass me. Huh? Don't give me that face. You're so cute. I love you. Give me a kiss. Oh, I don't want. No. Okay, go. Anyways. Let me drink some of this. Oh, it has a thingy. So much plastic. Plastic everywhere. All right. So, yeah. And this is the reason to bring it to this book, because I mentioned psychology. This is the reason why psychology is so important. Because people who are intelligent love to use psychology to manipulate people who are less educated. You know, just the way the conversation went between her and I, the word she used, is is very telling. And I mentioned that before. The way you talk to someone, the way you write something, if you don't use the right language, it can come off completely different than you want it to be. If you do use the right language, your intentions are clear. So that's the whole thing about learning English, learning any language. Like, you have to be really educated in different languages, the sources, the source word, the definitions. You can't just use words like they don't have any meaning. They do. Anyways, so we're on chapter 3, the experience takes a venue. And this was a very short chapter. So I'm going to try to fly through it and just kind of like take cliff notes, because I don't want to spend, it's already 7. I can spend a few hours. I can go, I already went to sleep, so I can be up late. Excuse me. The shifting sands of platforms. Players and designers are constantly debating about PC versus console versus mobile, tablet, web, blah, blah, blah. So platforms, in this case, have to do with how you're going to sell your game, how you're going to build your game. And that's really up to the game designer. For me, I only do PC games because PCs are elite. They're the master race, yeah. And also because you can easily mod games on PC. You can hack into games on PC. You can steal source code if you wanted to. I'm not saying that you should, but yeah. So that's what Toby Fox does. Like, he leaves little secrets in his files, in his database, and people look through it and they find it, and then they lose their mind. So it's quite interesting. So yeah, he's just talking about platforms. And that's just up to you. Oh. Anyways. So he has a little diagram. This is a Venn diagram. What is he talking about? But again, I have found it very useful when thinking about the concept. The arena, theater, museum, anywhere, playground, the gaming table, the reading nook, the workbench, the hearth, private venues. And I don't really care much for this. Reason why I like board games is because they're portable. Digital games are portable. If you have a laptop, you can play them. Private venues. Gameplay is often aided by privacy. To take the risk of immersing yourself in a fantasy world, we like to be in a safe place, either alone, surrounded by people we know and trust. And that's mainly like D&D and a lot of what's the game that people play? World of Warcraft. Okay. And now he goes into saying what private venues are. The hearth, which in America, we don't really have hearths. We have fireplaces, So it would be that, the workbench, your workplace, your home office. The reading nook. I have several reading nooks, and I just, I love it. Public venues, the theater, the arena. The arena as in game place, like in a game setting, in the simulated environment, not an actual arena, because we don't really have that anymore. We're not doing Coliseum stuff. The museum. Yeah, museums are actually really cool. I like anything that's educational and mainly free. If they're not free, I still pay for it, whatever. But they're implementing virtual reality into their tours, and that's cool. That's really cool. And they should implement AR as well. Augmented reality. Virtual reality, augmented reality are different. Half private, half public venues. The gaming table. I have a gaming table. The playground. Anywhere. So this is very like basic information. It's not anything that really that I want to pay attention to in this chapter and go deep into, because it's just, something that if you're just getting into game design, you would need this information. Venues mix and match. So then he gives you the lens of a venue. The places that we play exert tremendous influence on the The places that we play exert tremendous influence on the design of our games. To make sure you aren't designing in a vacuum. Ask yourself these questions. What type of venue best suits the game I'm trying to create? And these questions are very important. Does my venue have special properties that influence my game? What elements of the game are in harmony with my venue? What elements are not? So yeah, these lenses are really good to use as while you're developing your game. And the venue, I can bring an example of one of the games that I've made when I was graduating college, Toto's Adventure. My venue was the nursing home. So, and it was all intentional. I'm not going to go deep into that again. And now he gives us another other reading to consider, which I love. A Pattern Language by Christopher Alexander et al. That's actually quite an interesting book. I'm going to purchase all these books. I just love to read. Unlike someone I know that does not read. Anyways, chapter 4. The experience rises out of a game. I have the pimple here. It hurts. Okay, so he's trying to say that defining a game like the definition of the game is not the right way to go. And he mentions an ambiguity. I don't know why I'm saying that in an accent. And then he's just going on a rant. Like he literally says this is a rant about definitions. Geo. Does this mean we should shy away from trying to define them? So what is a game? What is a game? Now that we discussed and define things, a game is something you play. And I don't think anyone will disagree, but it doesn't tell us very much. Is a game different than a toy? Yes. Games are more complex than toys and involve a different kind of play. We use different languages. So that's good to know. Games and toys are different. With toys, we the person playing with the toys creates the game. So a toy is something you play with. A toy is an object that you play with. A good toy is an object that is fun to play with. So through this change in vocabulary, you see, I hope you can understand what I was saying earlier. So English is a little complex if you don't know where it came from and etc. So when you say a toy is something you play with, and then you go, a toy is an object you play with, you're clarifying what that is. And then he goes, a good toy is an object that is fun to play with. And that is more definitive, because anything can be a toy. Whether it's good or bad, you have to define it. And that's what he does. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Fun is pleasure with surprises. I'm going to highlight that because I like that. I like to be fun a lot. Anyways, lens 4, the lens of surprise. Surprise is so basic that we can easily forget about it. Use this lens to remind yourself to fill your game with interesting surprises. Ask yourself these questions. Sorry. So one thing about knowing psychology personally and understanding how people work and psychology, sociology, all that, because I also study sociology. I know I'm crazy. I don't rarely get surprised because, if you process, whatever, like it's hard to surprise me. And when I am surprised, it's like really genuine. I'm like this morning, I woke up and I found a beautiful clay flower on my desk. And I was like, what? And then I found a lovely note. That surprised me. It was beautiful. Anyways, what will surprise players when they play my game? Does the story in the game have surprises? Do the game rules? Does the artwork, the technology, do your rules give players ways to surprise each other? Do your rules give players ways to surprise themselves? So I'm going to put a little sticky because I like games that have surprises. Deeper meaning. And most of my games have surprises. If you play them, but I have to update them. So, number 5, the lens of fun. Fun is describable in nearly every game. Oh, desirable. Sorry, desirable in nearly every game. Although sometimes fun defies analysis. To maximize your game's fun, ask yourself these questions. What part of my game are fun? What parts of my game are fun? Why? What parts need to be more fun? Okay, so with this part, as previously discussed, that's really subjective towards the person. What they consider fun could be different. So, for example, I'll give you a personal example. Kingdom, you're supposed to survive in, like, I don't know how many days until you can go off on a boat and leave the country. And that's fun for most people. For me, fun is pushing the game to the limits. So instead of trying to survive, I give all my money to the poor, and then whatever happens, happens. So if I die, it's still fun to me. So this is a little kind of like, if you want to make a game that's fun, based on standard definitions of AAA gaming, go ahead and do that. Because if you make something that's fun and addicting, people will play it. And then there's a quote: play is the aimless expenditure of exuberant energy. Friedrich Schiller. I hope I said his name right. Okay, so I like what he's saying in this next little paragraph. Purpose of play is to expend extra energy. Throughout the history of psychology, I always like psychology history, there has been a tendency to oversimplify complex behaviors, and this is early example of that. It also uses the word aimless, as if it did not have goals. It most certainly does. And I'm going to write a note that says you can apply this to child psychology, because children play to learn, animals play to learn. So all type of play is a form of discovery of the world that we live in, of social limitations. And I'm going to bring something up that I find really important, is that we have parents who they're aware that the games that they're purchasing for their kid is 18 plus, it's severely violent, and they still let them play that game. I don't understand that. Because there's a whole reason why there's a mature warning. And, there will be things that your kids shouldn't witness at a certain time or a certain age without explanation, like parental explanation. And then they're surprised that their kid is acting in a weird way. Like, it's really just stupid and lazy parenting. So anyways, he has another quote. There's so many quotes. Yes. Play refers to those activities which are accompanied by a state of comparative pleasure, exhilaration, power, and the feeling of self-initiative. J. Bernard Gilmore. I have no idea who this is, but I like what he says. Other things are associated with play, imagination, competition, problem solving. I'm just gonna. And one thing I'm gonna point out too is about unprofessional behavior is standard working time is from 9 in the morning to 5 in the morning. And if you're calling me about business at 7:14 p.m., I'm not going to answer the phone because I am officially off work. At the same time, this definition is too broad. For example, an executive might work hard to land a contract, and in doing so, comparative pleasure, exhilaration, blah, blah, blah. Play is free movement within a more rigid structure. Katie Salen and Eric Zimmerman. Play is free movement within a more rigid structure. What? Why are you looking at me like that? Go play with Geo. Go play with your toys. We're gonna go walkies later, okay? I'm almost done. Stop. So this unusual definition from the rules of play is an attempt to create a definition of play so open that it can include things like the play of the light along the wall and the play of a car's steering wheel. And while it's hard to find something we could call play that is not covered by this definition, no one can easily come up with examples of what seems to be non-plays activities that do fit. Okay, so that's really interesting. Okay, so through spiritualism, I'm trying to think of the quote. Who made this quote? Was it Gandhi? Either it was Gandhi or Alan Watts. He talks about your life as a game. Like if you have the mindset that everything is an act of play, you know, your life, your mindset changes. Like it's a really deep meaning. So Jesse gives the example that if a kid is cleaning, he's playing, and that is technically true. People see chores as chores, but if you see chores as a blessing and have gratitude, it becomes a form of play, and that's something that I practice. Like cleaning, you clean your house here and you say I'm so grateful for having a home and having the opportunity to clean my own home. So yeah. He has another quote that says, this is from Bernard Mergen. Games, competitive games, which have a winner or loser, are not, in my definition, play. I disagree with that because competitive gaming is gaming. I don't do competitive gaming unless I'm sure I'm really good at it. So sport. It's basically sport, and sport is a healthy way of expressing anger, frustration, etc. That's why they did it in the ancient Colosseum, and also because they were forced to. But whatever. My dog's so silly. And there he goes. He says, what matters is one's attitude about the activity. So your attitude is what is important. And then he talks about Mary Poppins. As Mary Poppins tells us in the Sherman Brothers' wonderful song, a spoonful of sugar. In every job that must be done, there's an element of fun. You find the fun and snap. The job's a game. That's great. I love Mary Poppins. All right, so he has another psychologist. His name is Mikhaili Csikszentmihalyi. I assume he's Russian. And in this case, he's talking about a factory worker. I assume during the Industrial Revolution. Yeah. And it just talks about how this man has been in the same job for 5 years, and he sees it as an Olympic sport. So that's really cool. Okay, and then he talks about work and play become equivalent to servitude and freedom. So work is something you're forced to do because you have to make money. So therefore, it's servitude, which we can go deep into that philosophy, like in context to capitalism. Having a job is a form of servitude. It's a modern form of legal slavery. I said it. Anyways, and there's a big thing that I remember from a therapist that I had, that no one can force you to do anything, So that's really important to remember. Nobody can force you to do anything. And then I love this quote: play is manipulation that indulges curiosity. My eyeliner's messed up. Play is manipulation that indulges curiosity. I like that quote. Sorry. And then he goes, the lens of curiosity. I'm curious. I'm a curious cat. To use this lens, think about the player's true motivations, not just the goals your game has set forth, but the reasons the players want to achieve these goals. Ask yourself these questions. What question does my game put into the player's mind? What am I doing to make them care about these questions? What can I do to make them invent even more questions? And that last one I'm going to highlight because that's actually something I have not considered implementing in my game. How can I ask them, make them question more questions? And this is why I love gaming, game design. It's just so much fun. Yeah. Oh my God, my back. Let's see. We're not. Oh, this is a very long chapter. Actually, no, it's not that long. Okay. No, seriously, what is a game? We've come up with some definitions for toys and fun and even made a good solid run at play. Let's try again to answer our original question. How should we define a game? Earlier, we stated that a game is something you play, which seems to be true but isn't narrow enough. As with play, many people have tried to define game. Let's look at a few of these. Games are an exercise of voluntary control systems in which there is a contest between powers confined by rules in order to produce a disequilibrial outcome. This is a very heavy vocabulary, and I have to simplify it for the children that I teach. And also for myself. All right, so I have to look up equilibrium. Balance. And I'm just going to put balance quite simply. Unbalanced. You know, sometimes you don't have to put the whole definition, just put it in a key word because, you know, it's just irritating. Anyways, very scientific, an exercise of voluntary control systems. So voluntary means to enter of your own accord, your own volition. A contest of powers. And this talks about games have goals and games have conflict, which is everything in life has conflict. There's always conflict in Shakespeare's sonnets, his writing, and etc. So that makes a good story. That makes a good story. It makes a good poem. It makes good music. It just, you have to have conflict because there's always conflict. For example, in my life right now, there is conflict between me and another business. That's life. Confined by the rules. Games have rules. Yes, not all games have rules. Some games that I've made don't have any rules. You just play them. Fourth, a disequilibrial outcome. And this is actually quite interesting for this definition. He says that disequilibrial is an interesting word. It does not simply mean unequal. It implies that at one time there was equilibrium, but that it was lost. And I didn't know that. And that's actually really important to that definition. With the English language, stuff like that, like definitions like that, kind of are rare. I know in German they have very complex vocabulary, and so when I find something interesting, I keep it in mind. So key qualities to important to games are: games are entered willfully, games have goals, games have conflict, games have rules, which is optional, and games can be won and lost, which is not necessarily true, but if you're making a standard game, you can do that. I have several games in my house. Actually, my whole house is like a game. Where you write a letter to someone and you hide it in my house, and there's really no winning or losing. It's just you play the game. A game is an interactive structure of endogenous, meaning that requires players to struggle towards a goal. And he's going to describe what that word means. And he talks about the quote. He's breaking it down, which I love. I love it when people break things down. Can you let Heidi out? Make sure you watch her because she will escape. Okay, so it's lens number 7. I was reading the whole paragraph. The lens of endogenous value. A game's success hinges on the player's willingness to pretend it is important. To use this lens, think about your player's feelings about items, objects, and scoring in your game. Ask yourself these questions. What is valuable to the players in my game? How can I make it more valuable to them? What is the relationship between value in the game and the player's motivations? Interesting. Whew. I'm getting a little exhausted again. Okay. And then it just talks about where this applies to a game. And he talks about Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for the Sega Genesis. Games are interactive, games have challenge, games can create their own internal value. What? I told you we're gonna go walkies in a few minutes. Calm yourself. A game is a closed formula system that engages in a structure, conflict, and resolves an unequal outcome. Stop. So this quote I'm not going to highlight. I'm going to leave a note for myself. Actually, I'm going to highlight it in orange and then leave a note to further explain. Oops. My back is itchy. Okay. So I'm going to skip that for now and let's see where we're at. It's getting dark, so we might not be able to finish this tonight because I don't like the lighting in this house. It makes me really tired and it hurts my eyes. So I don't like studying with it. And then he just goes on to keep listing more stuff. So games are entered willfully. Games have goals. Games have conflict. Games have rules. Games can be won and lost. Games are interactive. Games have challenge. Games can create their own internal value. Games engage players. Games are closed formal systems. The last part, closed formal systems could, you can go deep into that because it doesn't need to be a closed formal system. It could be an evolving system, but that's really complicated stuff. So I'm not going to go into it. I think this is good enough for now. Let me see how many pages I had left for this last chapter. Oh, I have 2 pages left, so might as well finish. I'm not really reading all the paragraph stuff here. I underlined stuff when I first read this book in pencil, and I'm just reading what I've. So anyways, I underlined the enjoyment of problem Solving seems to be evolved survival mechanism. People who enjoy solving problems are going to solve more problems and probably get better at solving problems and be more likely to survive. And this is really true for what's happening now and my whole life. This was in 2016 and I didn't even think I was going to be a mental health advocate. That wasn't even a thought in my head. Find a way to get more points than the other team. Find a way to get to the finish line before the other players. Find a way to complete this level. Find a way to destroy the other player before he destroys you. This is just stuff to think about, like brainstorm if you're having a multiplayer game. I have not developed any multiplayer games. All my games are single player. And that is because I don't know the coding to have more than one person and all that stuff. So, all right. So I underlined, can I control fate and win this game? And then you cannot control fate. And this is in the context of playing a card game. Problem solving 101. And I'm going to highlight all this because it's basically what I do on a daily basis. So I'm going to read it out loud. One of the first things we do is to state the problem. The problem that we're trying to solve, which is important. You can state that there's a problem and you don't solve it, which is what everyone does. And define a clear goal. Next, we frame the problem. We determine its boundaries and the nature of the problem space. We also determine what methods we are allowed to use to solve the problem, the rules of the problem. And when they say rules, they're thinking game-wise, but if you're solving a problem, it should be based on laws, the government, the system, the economics, and all that stuff. So how do you solve that problem? Question 4, he doesn't really clarify what he's talking about, so I'm just going to skip it and go to question 6. Question 10 is a goal with a goal. When we work to reach that goal, which is usually challenging. Question 7, because it involves some kind of conflict. Question 3, if we care about the problem, we quickly become engaged. And that is what my game set out to do. And then the rest of it's kind of irrelevant. And we're almost done. Oh, this is the last page. Oh, second to last page. Okay. So a game is a problem-solving activity approached with a playful attitude. That is what a game is. And as I mentioned before, when I mentioned social impact gaming and my games have serious real life implications, they're like, how can that be a game? This describes what it is. It's a problem solving activity approached with a playful attitude. That's all it is. You can also add to that educational attitude, learning attitude. The lens of problem solving. To use this lens, think about the problems your partners must solve to succeed at your game. For every game has problems to solve, ask yourself these questions. What problems does my game ask ask the player to solve? What are there hidden problems to solve that arise as part of the gameplay? How can my game generate new problems that players keep coming back? So for this last question, that is an addictive model of gaming, and that's what AAA gaming does. So I have no interest in having somebody come back to the game. Once they play it, that's all you have to do. I mean, if you want to go back in the game, and sorry, I think my dog's scratching. What are you doing? Did you not let it out? We're gonna walk this in like a second. So, anyways, so I have no interest in people coming back and being addicted to my games. They can go back and essentially, if they want, destroy my game, break it, and that's the best way of gaming, is pushing the program to the limits. I enjoy that. So if somebody breaks my game, I'd be like, okay. The fruits of labor. So we embark on a journey to define our terms. Let's review what we came up with. Fun is Heidi. Fun is pleasure with surprises. Play is manipulation that satisfies curiosity. A toy is an object you play with, and a good toy is an object that is fun to play with. A game is a problem-solving activity approached with a playful attitude. So words are really important. And then we're on the last page. Thank God, because my dog is being a butt. So keep thinking. So if you can come up with better examples than what I have here, the whole point of defining these terms is to gain new insights, and that's very important. It is the insights that are fruits of our labor, not the definitions. Perhaps your new definition will lead to a new and better insight that can help us all. One thing I feel certain of: the whole truth regarding play cannot be known until the whole truth regarding life itself is known. That's a great quote. It's kind of funny because I don't think. Well, actually, people think that knowing the origin of life and the meaning of life is this complex notion that we will never understand and comprehend at our level. But quite simply, the meaning of life is to live your life and to have fun and learn and evolve. And this is based on spiritual beliefs and history and in religious history, if you look at it. So now there's other reading to consider, and he gave a lot. And I'm going to get my little sticky note. Which one did I use? I think I used this one. So many books. What am I gonna do? The books that he has provided: Man, Play, and Games by Roger Calois. Finite and Infinite Games by James P. Cars. I am actually more interested in that book because it's a philosophical approach to games. The relationship between games and life. Why We Play Games: 4 Keys to Emotion Without Story. Rules of Play by Katie Salen and Eric Zimmerman. These 2 chapters contain some very thoughtful consideration of the definition of a game. So he put this in his book, so I'm excited to read that. The Grasshopper, Games, Life, and Utopia by Bernard Sweets. Oh, I pronounced it right. Awesome. His name is pronounced, it looks like Suits. It's Suits, but I assume it's French, so that's how you pronounce it. Sweets. An incredible, thought-provoking, philosophical examination of the nature of games. Okay, I'm going to read this one too because Jesse says that his definition of games infuriates him, and I think that's hilarious. Like, I need to read why. And he says he's not able to refute it, which is hilarious. You know, it's good to admit when somebody, you know, you can't argue something, you know, like you can't always be right. Anyways, that is it for the first week, chapter 1 through 5. And now, after I walk my dog, I have to write 500 words on each chapter. And then I get to play games and break them down, which is going to be awesome. I'm excited. So yes, enjoy your Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday, which is Kind Reading Friday. I actually got a new book, and I am excited to read some of it, not all of it. It's a book from my childhood, and I look forward to reading it to you guys. Auf Wiedersehen. Wiedersehen.